Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer. Welcome back to American Truck Simulator, and welcome to Medford, Oregon. Yep, I think that's where we are. So, several new things. Try to show them to you in order. That never works out. It never does. So, I bought a garage in Medford, and the reason I did that is last episode we were in Klamath Falls. Yeah, we were in Klamath Falls, and I wanted to take something up into Oregon proper. But I wanted to swap trucks, and I also wanted to get a different log trailer. So when I got on Steam, I saw, let's get back here. When I got on Steam, I saw there was a very popular log trailer. This is a Pitts ownable log trailer. So I went ahead and bought one. I just kept it in the graphite, right? No big deal. It's just a tool. It's a working trailer. It's not a fancy trailer. But I also got to thinking, if we're going to be hauling a log trailer, why don't we get ourselves a proper log hauling truck? So in the United States, this is what you would see hauling logs. Logs never go very far. Logs don't go cross country. I mean, you may have a log, like a unique timber or something that's needed for a construction. You may have that travel cross country, but the idea of a trailer of logs traveling from one side of the country to the other, it's just not done. They're made into board lumber locally, and then the board lumber is transported typically by train. So you would never see a long haul truck with logs on it. This is what you would see hauling logs. So I went ahead and built, this is another Viper, the Viper 389. This is another one. I went with a short wheelbase, big fat tires, put a headache rack, a logger rack on it, no sleeper at all. And this is a 600 horsepower pack car motor, which is kind of different. I don't typically run those. Oh, and I also threw bull bars on the front, which I also don't typically do. So that's what we're going to be driving today. I think that, yeah, is that everything? Yeah, I think that's about everything. So, interior, pretty Spartan. And we also don't have a gear indicator. I threw a GPS up in the corner of the dash. Let's get some lights on. I think it's about 9 a.m. Is that right? Or 7:30. 7:30, 9. You know, same. Right. Is that everything? Yep. I think that's about everything. Here we go. So yeah, I don't know. It's Friday for me. It's going to be Saturday for you. It's been kind of a weird week. It has. It's been, I'm not a bad week, but it's been, you know how that is sometimes. So I'm going to knock this video out, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the day probably, I'm going to spend the rest of the day racing. And that means iRacing now. And I think I've cracked the code with iRacing. I think I've figured it out. And it took me the longest time. I was on the service. They call it a service, by the way, which I also understand a little bit better now. I was on the service in the end of last summer of 2018, and into the fall. And then I was away from it for a while. And now I have my wheel back, so I'm back on the service. And it's very frustrating. It is very frustrating, and there's a lot of crashing, and there's a lot of being taken out. And the way that the point system is set up, when you get taken out, whether it is your fault or not, you get points for it. And typically the explanation that you see for that is, hey, that's how it is in real life. You know, if you're driving your race car in real life and somebody takes you out, it's not like they owe you money or something. You know, that happens. People are dumb. You've got heavy pieces of equipment going very, very fast, right? At the limit of their grip, at the limit of the driver's skill. Of course you're going to have crashes. It literally happens all the time. And typically it's somebody's fault, but you don't get anything for that. You know, if you get taken out of a race by somebody doing something dumb, it's not like they fix that or make it right. You got taken out of a race. Maybe if if somebody cuts a corner and passes you, they may get on the radio and tell that person, hey, you need to lose a position and go back where you were. Oh, this is going to be tricky. I don't know what gear I'm in right now. We might have to do this. We might have to. So yeah, if somebody cuts a corner, they can fix that. The stewards can fix that. The marshals, however you call them, where you're from, that can be made right. But if you get wrecked out of a race and lose points in a championship, there's nothing that can be done about that. And that driver may eventually rack up enough warnings that, I guess if you're racking up enough warnings that you're about to be banned from a series, right? and I'm talking about in real life, if it's that bad, you are in all likelihood about to be fired anyway, unless you own your own team. But bottom line is, that's kind of how real life is when it comes to racing. It's an expensive sport. You know, the joke is that nobody makes money in racing. People do it because they love it, but nobody makes money. Sponsors don't make money. Teams don't make money. What am I looking for? Manufacturers. Yeah, I was thinking developers for some reason. That's the wrong word. Manufacturers. Companies that make cars that have race teams, they don't make money. Everybody loses money in racing. People just do it because they love it. So it's an expensive sport, and it's a frustrating sport. And you see, if you watch real racing, I wouldn't say every race, but very often, you see crashes in turn one at the highest level. Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar. You see crazy things in racing that you think, that shouldn't happen, you know? So now you get on iRacing, and I'm up to B license. And I thought, oh, B license is going to be where it's at. Rookies, obviously, was chaos, right? And the D license, D David, not much better, I have to say. C license was a slight improvement. I assumed B license would be, right, that much the better. Not really. I have to say, there's still a lot of crashing. So I cracked the code, or I thought I did. And how I crack the code is I start from the pits. Now, I qualify well. I start from the pits, and I feel like my safety rating is in my hands now. I can add, 0.25 to my safety rating pretty much at the drop of a hat. Anytime I want, I can crank up my safety rating. And what that means is I can do B races now, which I've tried a couple of them, and they have not gone well. And I've taken a baiting. But then I can go back and do a couple C races, because you can still do C races with a B license. I can do a couple C races, start from the pit, avoid traffic, just do a good solid fast race, and add right back to that safety rating. So I feel like I never need to be worried about losing my license, because you can be demoted. I don't need to worry about that now, because I have my safety rating is in my hands. But I still see the craziest things, the worst things, and it's unbelievably frustrating when you're doing a race with the specific goal of having no contact with anybody. And I mean, that's sort of a given. Nobody wants to have contact with anybody as far as, bumping or taking damage or taking points or anything. Nobody wants that. But for me, it's like there are races where I'm not even willing to risk being near the front runners. I'd rather have zero possibility of any type of drama, even if I know I'm not going to sort of benefit myself as far as getting points or anything. I'll make that trade, and then somehow this is it sounds like this is difficult for me to talk about. I would say it's difficult for me to talk about, but I'm choosing my words carefully because I don't want to be all pissy when I say it. To start a race from the pits and to somehow still get taken out. So I was racing at Road America. I started from the pits. I was 15 seconds behind. I was in last place. I started from the pits, lap one. I am as far behind everybody as I can be. I'm far away. And I'm looking at the relative timing. I see the car in front of me is getting close fast, and I crest a hill, and now I can see the smoke plume. And I think, oh dear, something's happening up here. And as I get closer to this car, I see that half of its bodywork has been ripped off, and it's not on fire, but it's blowing like thick clouds of smoke. Blown engine, something is terribly wrong, right? And there is a damage and repair system in iRacing, and I've used it. I think everybody's used it that's in the service. But damage like that is probably a 15 or 20 minute repair. So your day is over, unless you're just trying to finish the race to get credit for it, in which case you can take a tow to the pit and then just sit there, right? Because you're not going to be driving while you're getting repaired. Just take the tow and sit in the pit. And still this driver is persisting in driving around the track, no body work, on fire, right? So the long back straight, heading down toward Canada Curve, I'm approaching this guy at top speed. I slow way down. I slow from like 120 down to 90. We're in the Miatas now. I slow from like 120 down to 90. This guy's going about 50, right? He moves to the right. I move far to the left. And as I'm, I don't know, maybe 100 feet away from him, I think he's going to come across on me because he was kind of weaving and waggling all over. And as I get close to him, sure enough, he just, sure enough, as though he was, let me find the right gear here. Surely it's somewhere. There it is. As though he was magnetically bound to me. He just comes straight across the track right in front of me and takes me out. And now I'm in the pits for 15 minutes. And so I lost a little bit off my safety rating, and that is extremely frustrating when you're doing something with a specific goal of one thing happening and then exactly the opposite happens. Ooh, that's a little rough. It really is. That is a little rough. But you know what? This is my revelation, and this is what I understand about iRacing now that makes it different than any other game and any other sim, at least that I've ever played. And it's possible that it is entirely unique to itself and that there's just nothing else like it. What I realized about iRacing is it's just like real racing. And what I mean by that is it's not fair. It's not easy. And because you're racing against people, as much as they make an effort, as much as the developers make an effort to bracket everybody and get everybody into the right divisions and the right splits so that you're racing against people that are of similar skill to you and everybody can have a good time and you know, get up there and race and really feel like they're in the mix. As good as the developers are at doing that, you're never going to be the fastest unless you're just one of those people that's almost sort of destined to be the fastest. And I think it takes a tremendous amount of practice. In fact, I'm realizing this now, so I can say I know it takes a tremendous amount of practice just to be competitive, just to be able to keep your wits about you. So the way the circuits and the seasons change every week, I guess, is a new week in the season, in the in-game seasons, which go for 12 weeks. So an entire season runs 12 weeks. And that would be 12 circuits, 12 different tracks. And you have to buy the tracks. A lot of these tracks I've been on for years and years in other race games and race sims. But that doesn't mean that I know them in iRacing, because iRacing is so sort of finite and specific to the point where I'm actually kind of concerned about driving these same cars on these same tracks in other race sims that I have, because I don't want to mess with my mojo, so to speak. So this is Road America that we're on. I know Road America. And the first few laps I did Road America in the Miata on iRacing, I was turning like 142s. It's not a terrible time, but qualifying times are like 135, 134, and when people get in the draft, in a race, they're running 133s. So I'm way off. But I practice and I practice and I practice, and I can run consistently 137s and 138s now. But I'm still several seconds off the fastest cars. And this is what makes iRacing unique, and this is sort of my point, I guess, if I have one, is it's going to take me hundreds or possibly thousands of laps on Road America until I can run with the leaders, who may or may not have done the same thing. They may have run thousands of laps. They may just be aliens, right? They may just be really, really good sim race car drivers, or real race car drivers for that matter. But it's going to take me a long, long, long time to be able to compete with them, and I still may never be able to consistently. There may be a driver that just always has my number, that practice as much as I want, get as fast as I want, and I'll still never be able to catch that one particular driver. And that is like real life. And that is what is different about iRacing than other sims, because other sims, if you can't compete, you can always just dial back the AI. We can't do that in iRacing. The AI is, there's no A. It's just it's people. And they're sandbagging, right? They're farming. They're doing all the things, all the tricks that are, legal, I guess we could describe it as. Let's get into first gear here before we take our job. So they're sandbagging just as much as you are. And these are going up to Eugene. We may take this in one trip. We may. Maybe we can make it. It's going to be pretty slow to get out of here. Right. Where is our job? I'm not seeing the blinker. Oh yeah, I think I see it. Maybe? I'm not seeing the highlight. Are you seeing it? I can't see it. Is it just further up? Let's go a little further up. I feel like I'm missing something here. It says it's right next to us. Ah, there it is. It's behind a little hillock. Right. So yeah, does that make sense? It's the only game I think I've ever played where I can look at it and see a years-long commitment just to be adequate. That's crazy. That's crazy. I think for most games, there goes my voice. How long did we make it? Not bad. Not bad. I think for most games, I don't know. I mean, there's some games that, because of the way that we game and the way that we've all gamed since we were kids, I feel like there's some games that we can be good at them almost right out of the box. And as far as, the ability to drive a sim race car, sure, I can get around the track. No problem. But, when you start getting into taking a tenth of a second off of a lap as an accomplishment, that's getting pretty dialed. It really is. And I'm prepping for a Sebring race in the IMSA class, which is way different than the Miatas. Holy smokes. So much more competitive, much faster. Longer races. Missed it. Almost made it. Longer races and definitely better competition. That's a B license race. And concentrating here is why I'm talking so funny. Give it. There it is. Set the brake. Engine off. Let's load up. See how our pits trailer looks with some logs on it. Beautiful. Cargo's been loaded. Hop right back in here. How do we get out of here? I guess the same way we came in. Yeah. I'm going to go out here and to the left. So yeah, definitely a revelation that you have to play iRacing differently than you play other games, or at least I do. And the other thing that applies is setup. I was trying to get into setups. I was using some VRS setups, and I found a guy in the Netherlands that has a ton of setups in an archive. I was trying to mess with setups, and I realized that I shouldn't do that. I'm just messing myself up. And what I've decided I'm going to do instead is I'm going to wait until I can no longer improve my lap time. Within reason. I mean, I'm always going to be able to take a tenth off here and there. But I'm talking about, big savings. Like, you run 10 or 15 laps at a track, and then you kind of get a feeling for a certain turn, and you try it again next lap, and you take like 1 full second off your lap time. Those are the big improvements that you make as you're learning a track. But where I am now, being able to run 37s and 38s, I'm not going to run a lap and magically run like a 136. Oh, okay, if I just do this differently, I'm going to run a 136. Like, from here on out, it's going to be very incremental, very small improvements. So at that point, when I get to that point where I'm really no longer improving, then I can start to mess with setup. But I feel like if I start going down the rabbit hole of setups before I even know the track in the car, what exactly am I setting up? I don't know if the improvements that I'm seeing to my lap times represent setup or me just learning the track. So that's sort of a change that I'm trying to make. And even with a baseline setup, there is still so much to learn about these tracks, and getting into a practice session and thinking, oh yeah, I got this. And somebody passes you on a straight, you tuck in behind them, and as you go through the next turn, they just absolutely drop you. And it's like, oh, okay, I thought I was getting through there pretty fast. And no, not fast at all. Not compared to that other driver. And that's something else that's really funny about it is I've run a couple laps where I wouldn't say I was driving angry, but I've been in like way over my head. I'm driving way too fast. I'm overdriving the car. I'm barely hanging on to it. Somehow I survived that lap, right? I've taken another 1/10 of a second off my lap time. And then I look at the comparative timing and I'm still 3 or 4 seconds off the leaders. And it's like, how fast do I have to go, man? What is the secret here? Because that last lap that I just ran scared the hell out of me. And the idea of doing that for an hour is like genuinely unnerving, to think that I would do that. Oh man, that would be mentally exhausting. But even if I did, I would still finish like a minute behind the leaders. How am I going to do it? So I think that, I ask rhetorically, but I think the way that you do it is you just practice and practice and practice. And that's the other thing about the way the service is set up, that it's constantly rotating, is you're always sort of intensely practicing a new track, but it's going to rotate in a few days. It's going to rotate at the end of the week, so you never really need to worry about getting totally sick of it. But as that cycle repeats, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, eventually you will have experience on all the tracks in the service. So it is a good model that way. I mean, yeah, of course they want to sell you stuff. It's a business. It's a business. They want you to buy all the content. They want you to buy all the DLC. That's fine. But the way that it's set up, it clicked for me. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not defending. If you don't like iRacing, that's absolutely your right. I'm not trying to talk you into anything. But for me personally, it clicked now, and I get it. And I'm really looking forward to spending the next couple of years learning the service and really seeing like how fast I can be, because I'm pretty sure I can be a fast driver. It's just finding races to be in where you don't get wrecked, and when you do get wrecked, accepting that is a part of racing in sim, in real life. The only way that you get away from that, I think, completely, is to either do time trial or just back the AI down in a race sim that has AI. Back the AI down far enough that you just win all the time without really taking any chances. And at that point, maybe you could have an absolutely crash-free career. But everybody crashes. Everybody crashes. It would have to be last year because the season just started this year. But 2018, I want to say, Seb Vettel crashed at the Hockenheim ring just by himself. One of the premier drivers in the world, fighting for a championship, just stuffed it, coming into the stadium section. And if that driver can do it, anybody can do it. As far as just having a bad day, having a mental error, a mental lapse, it happens. Right, so I think what I'm going to do is get out on the highway and then turn the mini-map off. Right, so that's iRacing. Did I cover everything? Did I talk enough about iRacing? You know how I get. You know how I am. Right, let's get rid of this. So what else is going on? No release date for Washington, at least that I've seen, but somebody sent me a tip in Discord that there is going to be some additional content for the Italia DLC in the 1.35 patch, and I don't know when that's expected. I imagine fairly soon. And man, I really wish they would go to like a biannual model or whatever, that there's a spring patch and a fall patch, and they take all the content that they can have ready for that patch, and they drop it at once. And the reason is for mods, like all mods in general and pro mods, because these patches coming like every couple months and breaking all the mods. And I mean, I know you can opt out of them. But it's, I don't know. I mean, the game is so old. ETS in particular is so old. I don't think they need to worry about, you know, getting new customers or new, I guess it's not really subscribers, but you know what I mean. I mean, you can get the game for $5 on sale on Steam. It's definitely, it's hit, you know, its peak, saturation. Is that the right word? Yeah, I think that's it. You get what I'm saying. Market penetration, it's there. It is, wow, I really can't see around that GPS. Oh, that's better. It's there. I don't think they even really need to worry about selling the game anymore. They could literally give it away and just make money from DLC. But the idea that they're, you know, pushing out these patches constantly to like keep their customer base happy, I don't buy that. I personally, and I think a lot of other people would be happier if the patches came on a schedule, so that you could know what you were going to need to do as far as keeping your mods updated and making everything work properly. That's just me. What do I know? What else is going on? No real dates on anything else. Yeah, it's been pretty chill. It's a weird holiday season. It's going to be kind of a goofy season in the U.S. from now till probably June, like till the kids get out of school, and then things will pick up again as far as like business stuff. Did we come down here? I feel like we came down this ramp earlier. Yeah, that would make sense. There we go. So yeah, nothing going on is the takeaway from that. There's just really not a lot going on. Yep, I got nothing. There's some maps set to drop in FS19, but we'll see about that. You know what? I'll just stay in this lane. Yeah, sorry, I seem really scattered today, and that's because I'm really scattered today. So there are some maps scheduled to drop. We'll see how that goes. You know, you never know with a map. There's some map makers that I totally trust, and their stuff is always, I mean, the quality is always there, although sometimes the feeling of a map is not, you know. Bullet Bill's one of my favorite map makers, but I have to say there's a couple of maps of his that I've got on, and the quality is there, but it's not particularly the style of map that I am 100% into. Same with Oxygen David, another one of my favorite map makers. And we'll see what comes out for the mod contest. And it's crazy how many mod makers at any given moment are retiring, hanging up their Giants editor. They've had it, they can't do it, they're busy, their wife's having a baby, however it works out, but they're done with it. They're not going to mod anymore, and then like a week later they're back at it, which is fine. But it is, man, that's got to drive you crazy to have people like just absolutely up your ass about something that you're doing volunteering. You know, you're not getting paid for it, you're not on the clock, and you got people busting your balls about, you know, when's this going to be done? When's this free thing that you're putting hundreds of hours into and then giving away? When's that going to be done? I want it now. I don't know how well I would deal with that. Ah, sir. Ah, okay. All right. Feeling like this has been a really slow, mellow trip that we've taken today. You know what I mean? We've just been kind of creeping the whole day. It's not a bad thing, but it is a thing. Let's get around this guy. Let's get a move on. What else? I got nothing. Really, I got nothing. iRacing, no release dates. Farm Sim. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. How about we just drive and I don't say anything? What do you think of that? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Right. I don't know what this... Okay. All right. Oh, bus driver. Why you gotta be like that? Why he is really... Now I'm scared. I'm like genuinely afraid to get near this bus. Make it. Don't do anything crazy. Alright. So far, so good. And we are, wow, we are really speeding. That's better. That's better. Let me get through traffic here and I'll be engaging again. Oh, don't tell me to come in and get weighed. I'm in the wrong lane. Oh. That wasn't too bad. I was worried it was going to be a little dicier than that. I don't know about that GPS. I don't know. It's getting a little rough. Although, my buddy tells me that the right gear there we go. That the visibility in the 389 really is awful. All right, let's get up out of here. That person's having a bad day. Beautiful. Okay. And it just popped up and I didn't even look at it. I was looking at other stuff and I didn't see how far we had to go. But let's just go ahead and finish it off. Oh dear. Nope. They're gonna let me out. Beautiful. So let's just go ahead and finish it off. We'll take this in and get it delivered. And this puts us sort of in the center of the state, I would say. So we can go anywhere from here next week. And we do have a new truck. We got a new trailer. So let's haul some logs around Oregon and wait on the Washington DLC. It'll be here soon, I suspect. Fantastic. What else? Oh, when it comes to mods, like this mod trailer that I downloaded today, this ownable trailer, I really haven't been chasing mods the way I used to, and I don't know what the reason for that is. I used to be like, when I sat down the game, when I fired up my laptop, the first thing I would do would be go to Steam and check the workshop for the truck sims, and then go to the Giants mod hub and check there for the farm sim. And I'm trying to think what else is modded in my world. Assetto Corsa via race department. I had a ton of mods. I still do. I just don't really update them. But I realized at a certain point that it was just taking more time. I was spending more time messing with mods for some games, for some sims, than I actually was playing that sim. And I feel like I've kind of gotten away from it since then. I think the Steam Workshop helps a lot because the mods do stay updated. And the model that Giants is using now, it's slightly improved. I feel like they're directing more of their modding activity through the sim itself rather than the mod hub. There is an update feature in the sim, and that works. Well, of course, it only works for mods that you get from the mod hub, but I would hope at one point that they would automate that, where every time you fire up the sim, it goes ahead and sees what is ready to be updated, or at the very least lets you know. I mean, if you've got a metered metered connection and you don't want to be randomly downloading a couple gig of updates with no warning, then yeah, maybe they would want to give you a little dialog box for that. But you see what I'm getting at, that it would be like Steam, right? Every time you fire up Steam, it updates all your workshop content for all your games and all your sims. I think that's a good system. Are we getting close? I think we're getting close. Oh shit. Yes and no. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh shit. Okay. Moment. Find the right gear here. This is kind of not cool, I have to say. Thank you, sir. It's kind of not cool. What just happened right there? What just went down? I don't like that guy pulling in front of me like that. Okay, so I can't get over there. Now, it does say I'm going to Eugene, but I can't get over there. So is it going to do the cloverleaf shuffle up here and put me on the right track? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, it's sending me down. I don't know how many exits it's sending me down before I'm allowed to make the turn. So let's... it says 84 miles. 84 miles. I really don't think we have any choice. I mean, I could not have seen that. Yeah. I could not have seen that closure on the map ahead of time, so I would not have known to get off at an earlier exit. So I think this is about the shortest route that we can take to get there. Yeah, that's curious. And in this 1.35 patch, I wonder if they're going to put that in where you would have some kind of an ability to see when there's going to be a closure so that you can reroute accordingly. You know, the game does have a sat nav. It's got a GPS feature, and that's one of the things the GPS does, is it tells you like when there's a closure, when there's a blockage ahead, bad traffic, whatever. I'm curious if they put that in. They should. And well, to be fair, that sort of takes the fun out of it, because then all you're going to do is reroute. You'd never actually have to deal with that drama, because you would simply reroute around it before you got to it. But you see what I'm saying. It's cool to just come upon it like that, but at the same time, it's so random that it's almost I don't want to say meaningless, but you know what I mean. It's there's nothing you can do about it. You can't overcome it with skill. But we're getting there. We'll be there in just a few minutes. I'm curious how long this video is going to be. I'm guessing like 45 minutes to an hour. Went a little bit longer than we planned to, but there's nothing wrong with that. Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and get some lights on because it's looking a little cloudy, but to be fair, it is Oregon. Right. I do love this game. This one and ATS. It is the strangest concept. Just driving a truck. But somehow it works, man. It's a really hypnotic game. There we go. Beautiful. Now, Okay, so we'll just loop around at the exit where that closure was, and then we should be headed right into... Yep, we should be headed right into town. Okay, cool. Yeah, this one okay. This one okay. I like this truck. Uh-oh. What's this about? All right. I think the Viper is a lot like the RJL Scania in that there are just so many options. You really can make it whatever you want it to be. And I feel really fortunate that it is my favorite brand. Okay. Telling me to hustle up. I'm hustling, buddy. I'm hustling. Be there in a minute. I feel very fortunate that it is my favorite brand. I've said this before, I was not a Scania fan before I started playing ETS. I really don't have a favorite European truck brand. But on the American side, on the ATS side, I'm definitely a Peterbilt fan. Not a fanboy, just fan. If you don't like Peterbilt, that's totally cool. I don't want to fight with you or anything. I'm always amused by people that think that because they like something, that everything that they don't like is instantly bad and they want to argue about it all the time. Not that way at all. If you tell me Peterbilts suck, that's okay. It's totally cool. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. It's a brand that I like. I'm not saying it's the best brand. But I feel very fortunate that this truck exists and has been brought current. There were a couple of times, there were a couple times when the truck was like 1 or 2 patches behind and it really wasn't working very well. And there was also that thing with the mirrors, which they got fixed. I'm super glad about that because for a long time I couldn't even use it because of that frame rate drop with the mirrors, but it's sorted now. And I am definitely lucky to have this truck because you really can, well, like this. I mean, we've got a big 3-axle heavy hauler, we've got this log truck, we've got a coffin box sleeper, we've got like any kind of Peterbilt that you can imagine. 389, anything in the 389 range that you can imagine, you can build with the Viper. I think that is super, super cool. Could probably make a right turn on red here, but I don't trust this game. I don't trust it. All right, getting close, getting close. Here we go. Well, I'm glad we got to see that logging area. I've not been there before, but I guess that was... I don't know if those were included in the Oregon DLC from the jump or if they were added when the logging trailers were added. I think there were some new areas added to the map. I would have to assume that would be one of them for the 1.34 patch with the logging trailers, but regardless, I'm glad we got to see that. Reminds me of some of the areas up north in ETS, up around the North Cape, which is, it's a Pro Mods area, but it still counts, I guess. But, you know what I mean? Far off the beaten track, way up in the way up. Right. Here we go. Where are we going here? Around the corner. Oh, that's perfect. Just getting to be sleepy time. And I think, you know, we've gone long enough today. I think I'm just going to... skip unloading. It's tempting, though. Sort of tucked back there in the corner. Let's do it. 2 swings every time. That's my rule. It's always going to be 2 swings. Oh, game. I love you. That's not the game's fault, though. That's on me. That's on me. Right. Well, at least we got a nice square second time. Right. Put her in neutral. Shut her down. Let's see how we did. Not late. That's fantastic. Didn't go very far. Call it 8 grand. Yeah, level 36 is going to be, we're not even at level 35, but it's going to take a while to get to 35 and then even longer to get to 36. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of American Truck Simulator. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.